Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
Well, ever since Nick Saban arrived in 2007, he's designated the Media Day and Fan Day as the time when he and the rest of the team take the official team picture that you see in the game programs on Saturdays. Even the 2 helmets this year reflecting 14 national championships. That's the number Alabama has earned over its illustrious history of college football. Certainly one of the top programs in the history of the sport. Meanwhile, Bama was back at it today. The Tide worked in full pads, but they had to go inside because of the rain outside. You know, they actually began practice last Thursday, and their first off day is not until this coming Sunday. Nick Saban has really been working the guys hard, getting them ready for that September 1st showdown against the University of Michigan Wolverines in Arlington, Texas. And why not? The countdown to Alabama and Michigan continues to tick away. We're 25 days until kickoff, almost 24 days and about a half an hour. With that, we say good evening, everybody, and welcome into another edition of Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock Bottling Company. You know them all over the state of Alabama for putting out those great Pepsi products. Tonight, again, Pepsi Next. All the great Pepsi taste, 60% less sugar than regular Pepsi. Tastes pretty good, doesn't it, Rod?
You've made it a famous drink. You know, everywhere I go, people talk about Gary Harris popping his top.
And it's good, and it is good. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I am Gary Harris. And Rod, I like the fact you got the iPad out tonight. You can actually talk to your subscribers out there on Tider Insider as we do the show.
And they can talk to us.
That's right, and they can give us some feedback. We'll get to practice and on-field matters in just a moment, but first we talk about the thing that Nick Saban hates the most, Rod. What's that?
Predictions.
Predictions and expectations. The coaches poll came out last week, and Bama is ranked number 2 behind LSU. The Tide actually had more first-place votes than did the Bayou Bengals, but LSU had just a few more total points. Behind them is USC, who had 19 first-place votes, and then Oklahoma and Oregon. But like we mentioned, polls, expectations, predictions, you know, they don't make Nick Saban very happy, and he let us know about that on Sunday when he came in to greet reporters for Media Day.
You know, I know you guys are going to have all these comparison questions and where you ranked and how many games you're going to win and what's going to happen to this player, which guy is going to make the biggest impact on the team. And, you know, all these predictions that you all make, they hijack the game. You know, because all everybody worries about in college football is the BCS. Who's going to be in the final game? Well, you know, we got a lot of great games for our fans, for our players, great competitive venues. Michigan game's going to be a great game. Arkansas game, Tennessee game, LSU, Auburn. I could go through every game on our schedule and say how exciting a game it's going to be. And why do we play the games? To answer the questions. I don't even know for sure who our quarterback's going to be the 6th game of the year. And nobody here can predict that. None of you can predict that. AJ's a good quarterback, but there could be circumstances that doesn't allow him to play in the game. And you all want me to predict that. And then you go vote and have your polls and all that and then want me to respond to it. And also to individual players that I can't make those predictions about either.
That was Coach Saban on Sunday. And, Rod, what's interesting is you listen to that and you think, well, a reporter asked him a question and set him off.
He didn't.
That was unsolicited. He walked in and hit us with that. Of course, hey, he's in the prediction business too. He votes in the coaches poll, which voted Alabama number 2. But, again, always a message, always an agenda with Nick Saban. And he didn't waste any time on Sunday letting us have it.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, Gary, you have to start somewhere. And I mean, this is tradition, college football. The polls come out this time of year. And certainly when you look at, you know, what Alabama has returning, I think it's justified when you start the polls to have Alabama ranked pretty much in the top 3. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue about that follows college football. Right. USC, Alabama, and LSU are generally considered the top 3 teams at this point. Again, you have to agree with what he says. You never can tell how the season's going to play out.
The last time Alabama was in this situation, just 2 years ago, they were the defending national champions. They were ranked number 1. As we just said in the coaches poll, Alabama actually got more first-place votes than did LSU, but the Bayou Bengals are ranked number 1. I know it's only 1 spot difference, but wouldn't you rather be number 2? Don't you think if there's any mental advantage to be had, that it's better to be number 2 preseason than number 1? Either way, if you win all your games at number 2, you're going to play for the national championship.
I think, honestly, and I think this is part of his point, is don't even pay attention to the rankings. I mean, I think that's part of the message, a big part of the message. And, you know, really it doesn't matter who's number 1, who's number 2. I mean, you look back 2 years ago. I mean, who would have ever thought Auburn would have had a chance to compete and win a national championship? Nobody.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and he is right with what he said. You have to let it play out, but let's be honest, too. It's big business. The BCS is driving college football. The playoff will soon drive it. People are going to talk about it. People are going to make predictions whether you like it or not. It's just the way it is. I appreciate him getting his message out, but it's not going to change anything. Everybody's going to continue to make predictions, and if you're predicted high, like Alabama, and you don't live up to expectations, you're going to have to deal with the fallout. That's just the way it is.
Again, I think the most important thing that he's concerned about is making sure that his players understand, these mean nothing.
That they don't buy it.
Especially coming off a national championship and, what happened in 2010. And, you certainly want your players to focus on, what's at hand, not some preseason ranking.
Well, let's do that, Rodney. Let's talk about on-the-field matters. What have you seen that sticks out in the first few practices? We don't get to see a lot of it, but it seems like the period, we've gotten 3 periods so far this year. We've got to see a little more than usual. Just your thoughts on this football team very early in fall camp.
Is it okay if I say a lot of good things?
Absolutely.
Positive things? I mean, this team really looks good, Gary. And I've said this many times on TiderInsider.com. When I walked into the gate on that first practice in 2009, I thought that was the best-looking Alabama football team physically that I had ever seen. They went on to go 14-0, won a national championship. I thought last year, and I wrote this on that particular day, 2011, walked in, I said, this team physically looks better than the 09 team. I'm not going to say this team looks better than last year.
Welcome back. The island of Grenada has erupted in celebration over the small Caribbean nation's first ever Olympic medal. People danced, cheered, and waved flags in the street on Monday after former University of Alabama track star Kirani James won the gold medal in the 400-meter. It was one of the fastest times ever for a non-American, and he did it under 44 seconds. Hundreds had gathered at outdoor viewing sites to watch the race. 19-year-old is the first non-U.S. runner, as I mentioned, to break 44 seconds. And his time is the fastest ever by a Caribbean athlete in the 400 meters. The government of Grenada has declared today a holiday to mark the feat. How about that? Meanwhile, back here in Tuscaloosa, it's not just football beginning practice. The Alabama soccer team held its first practice last week. The Tide made the SEC and NCAA tournaments last season and lost just 3 starters. With 7 newcomers added in to the 8 returning starters, there's a healthy amount of competition for positions to be filled. Coach Todd Bramble says he really likes the enthusiasm that the Tide players are bringing to the table, and he's excited about the upcoming season.
Well, there's a ton of excitement. The players brought a lot of energy to the field this morning. Some of it is good energy because of the excitement. Some of it's a little bit of anxiety, and already you can see the competition for spots. Trying to sort of start shaping up. But for the coaches, we're not thinking about any of that right now. We're just trying to set the tone of what the training environment needs to be like this year. And the players did a great job of bringing the appropriate level of energy and competition to the field today.
It's just exciting to get back with everyone. It's our first day back, first morning practice, ran our first fitness test. It's just really exciting to be back with everyone. Got some new faces, a lot of returners, just energy's high. We're excited to be back together and get working again.
Up next, what does Bama's new coordinator Doug Nussmeier envision for the Tide's offense this season? Plus, we'll talk one-on-one with quarterback A.J. McCarron. And don't forget to give us a shout right here on the program. There's the information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. The award-winning Tider Insider Television will return right after this. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV on this Tuesday night, just 3 weeks or so before the start of the season. Back to football now, and one of the big questions going into the season is how much different will Alabama's offense look under Doug Nussmeier compared to Jim McElwain. Well, they've got a lot of similarities in their backgrounds, and as you can probably figure out, Nussmeier wasn't going to give us too much insight when he met with us on Sunday about what the new offense is going to look like.
We want to be balanced on offense, and the goal is to put our playmakers in the best positions to make plays. So, we'll use a variety of things, whether it be shifts, motions, formations, whatever it is to create, advantages for us, hopefully.
A lot of coach speak right there, Rod, coach speak 101, but still, we have heard this, talking to some players on Sunday. and what little bit of tidbits that we can gather, offense is going to be Nick Saban's offense. We understand that. Very similar to what they've run in the past, but maybe more personnel groupings. Even Kirby Smart said that. More formations, different looks, trying to keep the defense, I should say, off balance.
Yeah, and I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't think it's going to be significantly different in terms of what they do, the play selection, the run versus pass necessarily, although it could be. You have to remember this too, Gary. Personnel has a lot to do with it. And, Alabama's had Trent Richardson. They've had Mark Ingram. Of course, obviously, they've got some good running backs now. There you see one of them, Joston Fowler, D. Hart also, Eddie Lacy, T.J. Yeldon, the potentially great young freshman. So they do have those backs, but at the same time, they have a lot of top-notch young receivers. So we could see, with A.J.'s maturity, Alabama put the ball up a little more.
I think they're going to sling it around. Of course, an offensive coordinator really is only as good as his players, specifically you talked about as quarterback. I had the opportunity to chat with A.J. McCarron on Sunday at Media Day. He says he's much more comfortable after a year of starting experience under his belt. He said last year, mid-season, is when he really started to feel like a veteran QB.
I started to, really see the game. The game started to slow down. I mean, everything was just a lot slower. And I think once that happens for a young quarterback, your confidence level just shoots up. And I felt like it did that, and I felt like I was seeing everything. But like I said, when you play with guys like I do here, it makes your job a lot easier, and you don't really have to worry, about being perfect all the time.
As a leader on the team, how do you make sure everybody buys in and works just as hard to stay at the top as they did last year to get to the top?
Well, I was here in 09. I was backup to Greg. And then seeing, the process through the 2010, I think the leadership just fell off. But like everybody tries to compare, there's no comparison. It's new guys on the team, new faces. And Coach is still, preaching the same thing. Coach does a great job of doing that. And I think it all falls back on the leadership, though.
We saw what he did on the field last year, but now we're getting a much better opportunity to get to know him. And I'm impressed with him off the field as well, the way he handles himself. He's
handled himself really well, Gary, in terms of his interviews and his opportunities with the media, and I think he's showing, really, to be honest with you, you can see the impact that Nick Saban's had on him.
Really
I don't think there's any question about that, and I think it's helping him develop and mature as a player and as a person, certainly. And again, I say this, I thought he threw the ball as well or better than I'd ever seen him throw it last Sunday. So I think that this could be a big year for A.J. McCarron. All
right, let's give some of our callers an opportunity to speak with us here on the program. Let's start off with Stacy in Moundville. Hey, Stacy, how are you? Stacy, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Hey, go ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering if Nick Saban's going to take Mount Moore's place when he retires at the statue.
As the AD? Stacey, I don't know. I will tell you this. Right now, Coach Moore has not showed any signs of stepping down. I think he's enjoying himself. He's done a great job. Who knows? I mean, depends on where Nick Saban's at in his career at this point. I mean, it's just hard to say.
That's a long way off.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there's no way to predict.
Yeah. All right, thanks for the phone call there in Manville. Let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk with Joseph. Joseph, what's up, man?
Hey, Gary, Rodney, what's up, man?
Hey, bro.
Hey, Joseph.
Man, doesn't it seem like over the years since last year, A.J. McCarron's leadership is getting greater and greater?
Yeah, that's what we talked about. I mean, I agree with you, Joseph, and Rodney's already alluded to that. He's become not just a really good player on the field, but I think everybody on that team looks to him as one of the key leaders of the squad.
And Nick Saban said today after practice, his post-practice comments were just that, Joseph, talking about how A.J. had supplied a lot of leadership and he's growing as a leader. So, certainly as a quarterback, that's what you're looking for.
All right, thanks for the phone call. Let's go to Center over there in Northeast Alabama and talk with our buddy LD. LD, how's it going, man?
All right. I was wondering who might return kicks and punts this year.
That's a good question. There's the number of guys that can do it. Number of guys who were big time in high school. I guess we can start with Christian Jones, Rodney, and work from there.
Yeah, again, Christian Jones came in last year, in the LSU game in November. He had to fill in, did a great job. He's shown, good hands, and he also returned kickoffs there late in the championship game. Amari Cooper is a true freshman. I think is going to make a big splash at wide receiver, but I also think he has big playability as a kick return guy. We'll see what happens. Again, they're working a lot of people, so it's really tough to say right now who they might settle on, but they do have, as you mentioned, Gary, a lot of options.
Yeah, guys that could really
lot of options.
burn it. Bradley Silves, another one.
Bradley
More of your phone calls and emails coming up right after this. You can tell the season's getting close, Rod, because the phones are lighting up. Let's get right back to them and go to Rainbow City, near the Gadsden area there, and talk with James. James, what's going on?
Not a lot, guys. I'm ready for football season to kick off. My question is this. The young man that I believe he came from Texas, supposed to be the number one field goal kicker in the nation. Is he going to start this year, and how's he coming along?
All right, James. They got Cade Foster, who you're referring to, that came in last year and handled the kickoffs of some of the long field goals. They've got Jeremy Shelley back as the short field goal kicker, but the guy that everybody's excited about, maybe this is who you were talking about, is Adam Griffith.
Yeah, that's who he's talking about, from Calhoun, Georgia. And we've talked about him again. It's early. I haven't seen him kick, but I know he's got a really strong leg, or I say I haven't seen him kick this fall. But he has a really strong leg, and, you know, again, we'll just kind of have to see how that develops over time, Gary. It's difficult to predict, you know, 3 or 4 days into practice.
I think they're excited about their kicking game, though, with him. And Mandel, the punter, has really improved.
Well,
I think the kicking game is going to be a strength this year, and at times last year that was not the case.
Yeah, and you know, Shelley really gained some confidence in the championship game. I think he can handle everything 35-40 in, and then maybe we'll see either Foster or maybe even Griffith from the longer distance kicks. And Griffith does have a real strong leg on kickoffs. They're moving the
35
to the 35, so that should help too.
All right, let's hear from our buddy CB. CB, hadn't talked to you in a while. What's up?
Not much, man. Trying not to burn my lasagna up. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Listen up. Is it just in time will y'all get to ask more questions, or you know, sometimes it's like you get talked down. I know the coach he got a lot on his plate. But what do y'all think?
Well, CB, I see your question there. Do you think the media is scared to ask Saban questions? No, I don't. I mean, I want to put that to rest. I mean, I have people all the time say, well, they're scared to ask Saban. The reporters are not afraid. And tough questions get asked. Sometimes they get a response maybe that's not too pleasant for them or us. But I don't believe that. If somebody's got a question to ask, they'll ask it.
And they do.
That's right. And he gets some tough ones from time to time. So I don't think you got to worry about that, CB. Everybody will ask what they need to ask the coach. Up next, if you build it, they will come. And that's the assumption Nick Saban and the Tide continue to operate under. That story is next when Titv continues. And finally tonight, Alabama will build a $9 million two-story training facility for athletes. University System trustees last Wednesday approved construction of the 34,000-plus square foot building between the indoor practice facility and the Malmore Athletic Complex. The facility will include a weight room, rehab and cardio area, strength coaches' offices, and a nutrition bar and juice room. Because, you know, you get hungry after a big workout. It will connect to the indoor facility and athletic building through a connecting corridor. The company oversaw the expansion of both the end zones, the company that's handling this one. And work is expected to be done in January. And they're moving right along as we're over there every day. And it won't be long just to continue to upgrade facilities at UA. All right. That is going to do it for tonight's program. A reminder that every Tuesday night, you know, we go to dinner, the crew, and tonight it's Buddy's Rib and Steak over there in Northport. Come out and join us about 7:15. And if you missed any of tonight's show, we'll be getting it up on the internet for you, WVUATV.com. Special thanks tonight, too, to John Huddleston. This will be his last time to produce Tider Insider TV. As we like to say in the business, he's moving on to other opportunities.
He's done a great job, no doubt.
Got a few
Great
more
job.
days with us, but his last Tider Insider TV. So for John, for Rodney, and our entire TITV crew, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week right here on your home team station, WVUA TV.